Join me as we learn Chitas for today, the third day of Tuesday, Parashas Vayeira, chapter 19, verse 1. Vayevayu shnei malachim Sodoma, and the two angels were walking slowly and finally arrived at Sodom, ba'erev in the evening. V'loit yoshev b'shar Sodom, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. Vayar Lot, and Lot saw them. Vayokam likrosam, and he got up to greet them. Vayishtachu apayim orza, and he prostrated himself on the ground. What happened here? If you look, there's something interesting in the difference that when they come to Avram, they're called men. When they come to Lot, they're called angels. Why is that? We also see that the two angels came. Why two? So Shnei, Rashi says, Echad lahashchis Sodom, one was to destroy Sodom, ve'echad lahatzil Lot, and one to save Lot. V'hu oisei, that's the same angel, Shabal Rapis Avram, that came to heal Avram, because every single angel already completed his mission, had a certain mission. This one completed his mission, and saving and healing are part of the same mission. The third one that came to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child, he already did his job, so he went and left and did not take part in the destruction of Sodom. Hamalochim, angels. Why over here does he call them angels? Lahalon, Karam Anoshim, and by Avram he called them men. Because when the Shechina was with them, Kram Anoshim, he called them men. Meaning, because the divine presence was there, and the Malachim and the angels in the presence of the divine Shechina are insignificant can be considered as angels, because the Shechina, the divine presence, is even greater than them. So therefore, relative to the Shechina, they were considered men. Davar acher, another explanation of why the change of language. Avram, that he was great, and he had angels coming there all the time. So by him, they were like men. So therefore he calls them men. But by Lot, who wasn't accustomed to having angels, it was something that his level was much lower than Avram. Kram Malachim, he calls them angels. But Erev, in the evening, did it take them that long to get from Hebron to Sodom? Is it that far? They left the middle of the day. What took so long? They're angels of mercy. And they were waiting, umamtinim. They were waiting and waiting and waiting to see Shema Yuchal Avram Lalamd Aleim Sanegoyra. Maybe Avram will be able to find a reason, some defense on them, on some merit that they should not be destroyed. So they were delaying their mission until maybe something would happen. Lot was sitting in the gateway of Sodom. It says Yoshav. It doesn't say it Yoshev with a vav, but it says Yoshav. He was sitting, meaning Minuhu. It was that day that they just made him. It wasn't that it was all the time. That day they made him a Shefet Aleim. They appointed him a judge on them. Vayar Lot, and Lot saw. Meaning, even though Lot was not the greatest righteous person, even though Lot was in the city of Sodom, and he was influenced by the people of the city of Sodom, but what he learned in the house of Avram, he never forgot. And he learned that you always have to honor guests, and therefore he went to welcome these individuals that he saw coming into Sodom. Vayomer, and they said to Lot, Hinena Adonai suruna el beis avdechem. He said, Lot said to the angels, now my masters, now my lords, please turn aside and come to my home, come to your servant's home. Valinu, rest over, v'rachatzu raglechem, wash your feet, v'ishkamtem, and you'll get up early, v'halachtem ladarkechem, you'll go continue on your way. Vayomer, when they responded, lo no kiberchoyev nolin, we'll spend our night in the square instead, in the street. Hine no Adonai, Rashi explains and says as follows. What is the word no? Hine no means now. Atem, you, adoinimli, are important to me. Achashavartumlai, now that you came, I have the opportunity to have you and to serve you, please. Davar acher, another explanation is, Hine no, now, tzrichamatem losis lev al rashem alol. You got to be careful from the evil people around there. Shule yakiru bechem, they should not realize that you're a guest. Therefore, I'm giving you advice. Sui eitz nachaina. Therefore, I give you something to do that you should be careful and come over to my home. Suruna, why does he tell them go to the side? Ikmu es haderech, take like a side road. Levesi derech hakalos, and do a side street, so therefore it will not bring attention and people shall yakiru, they should recognize that you're coming there. Suru, therefore he says come, but it doesn't say come in the word boyu, but he says come to the side, meaning take the side entrance or take the side road that nobody should recognize where you're there. Velinu v'rachatzu raglechem, and rest over and wash your feet. Why does he say first sleep over and then wash your feet? Does it make sense that a person first goes to sleep and then they shower and then they wash? And even more so, he tells them first to wash themselves. Ella, what's going on over here? He was afraid of the people of Sodom. This is what Lot said to himself. If the people of Sodom are going to come to me and tell me, take out your guest, they'll see that they washed their feet. They'll accuse me. And they said, these people are here for 2-3 days. To your house, you didn't tell us. Therefore he said, rather let them come into my house with dirty feet. Like this, it look like they just came. Therefore he tells them, first rest over, and then afterwards wash yourself. But they tell him and they refuse. Avram, they right away said, we're going to come over. We learn here we learn respect. That if it's a small fellow, that a very important person, if it's a regular individual, you can say no, you don't want to bother them. But when it comes to an important person telling you something or offering you to come, you should never refuse. Ki b'rchev nalin, as we learned yesterday, ki can have many different languages, many different interpretations. Ki melashin ella, only because. So in this case as well, the key is telling them, we're not going to your house, ella, but we're going to stay in the middle of the street. Vayakumu, verse 3. He pleaded with them very strongly. And they turned his way. When they came to his house, he made for them a meal, party, a feast, and he baked matzahs for them, and they ate. Verse 3, Rashi, why does it tell us? It already says that they're coming to his house. Why does he say Vayasuru elav? Ikmos haderech letzeit beis, to tell us that they came through the sideways. Matzahs afa. Why did he bake matzahs? Because, as we mentioned, when did the angels come to Avram's home? This was just the next day or later on in the day, so therefore it was Pesach. Verse 4. Terem yishkavu. They had not yet gone to sleep. V'anshe Yair, and the people of the city, Anshe Stem, and the people of Sodom, Nasabu alabayis, gathered around the home, surrounded the home, Inar v'adzakein, from young and old, Kala amikatza, all the people from every quarter. Verse 4, Rashi. Terem yishkavu ve'anshe Yair, Anshe Stem. Why does he have to tell us again the people of the city, the people of Sodom? Kach nidrish be'Breshis Rabbah. This is the way it's explained in Breshis Rabbah. Terem yishkavu v'anshe Yair b'fiyam, before they even had the time to lay down. The people of the city were already speaking about, meaning they were talking about the malachim, the angels were talking about it. They were asking Loit, what is going on with these people here? And he tells them, most of them are evil. While they're still sitting and talking and chatting about the people of Sodom, and it came to fruition what they were talking about. The people of Sodom surrounded the house. You can see what happened. That's the medrash. The simple interpretation is the people of the city, which is the people of Sodom. Anshe Resha, they were terrible people. Nasabu alabayis, they surrounded the home. Because since these evil people were the people of Sodom, and because of their evil, they were known, the people of Sodom are the evil people. It was well known that the people of Sodom were evil and sinful. What does this mean? All the people? From edge to edge, all the people, nobody stopped. Every single person participated, meaning that they were all terrible people. Everybody was part of this. Nobody stopped them. Nobody protested. They didn't even have one righteous person amongst them. Verse 5. Vayikru aloit, and they called out to Lot. Vayemer, and they said, we are the men that came to you tonight. Take them out, bring them out to us. V'neida oisam, so we can know them. What does it mean we can know them? So Rashi explains, this was not just knowing them. B'mishkav zachar, they wanted to know them in a cruel way, in an intimate way, to sin with them. Like whenever it uses the terminology of intimacy, that a person didn't know the man, the person wasn't intimate with them. The Torah now continues with verse 8. Verse 6. Vayetze aleim. Lot went out to them, pascha by the door, v'hadela sagar acharav, and the door closed behind them. Vayomer, and he said to them, Al no achai tereu, I beg you, my brothers, do not commit such wrong. Verse 8. Hine noli shtei vanis, behold, I have 2 daughters. Asher lo yodu liish, who have never known a man. They have never been intimate with a man. Oitzia na'asen aleichem, I will bring them out to you, vasulam katef beinechem, and do as you please with them. Rakla noshem el, but only to these men. Al tasu davar, do not do anything, ki al kein bo b'tzel karasi, because they have come under the shelter of my roof. The neidaisam, verse 8, ha'el k'mo ha'ela, these, ki al kein bo, ki atoiva azois tasu l'chvedi, do me this favor that they came, do this favor for me. Al asher bo, because these people came, b'tzel karasi, to be with me in my home, so therefore I have an obligation to care for them. The Targum translates, Bitlal Sherusi, HaTargum shall Keira Sherusa, meaning he explains Keira, the word Keirasi, under my roof, but he also means under that I have to occupy myself with them, to deal with them, to serve them, to be there for them. Verse 9. Vayomer, and they said to them, Gesh hala, get out of the way. We're not interested in your daughters. Vayemer, and they said, Ha'echad ba'lagur, this guy came as a sojourner. Vayishpeit shofet, and he became now a judge. Ata nora lechamehem, and now we will deal even worse with you than with them. Vayiftzuru be'ish beleit, they pressed hard against the man, against Lot. Ma'oid, very much so. Vayikshu lishper adalas, and they tried to break the door down. Vayemru gesh hala, so Rashi explains in verse 9, meaning krav hala. They told him, get over here. Kalemri skadav litzadin, come to the side, v'yistrachik mimeno, but he was distancing himself. V'chein kol hala shebemikra, anytime you find the word hala in a pasuk, it means loshin rachiku, means distance. K'mo yizrei hala, throw it far, that he would throw the incense that we see in the book of Numbers. Hine achatzim imcha from hala, it's from here and further. Gesh hala, come, meaning hemshech lahalon, don't go far away, come close. V'loshin las trinterish. Und varne ziva, this is a way of getting angry, as screaming at them, as screaming at him. Leimer enen ucheshelach, we don't trust you, we're not afraid of you. V'doimele, we find someplace else the same terminology. Kravilech al targesh by, come close but don't touch him. V'chink shali v'ashereva. Himoshech l'tzdadim avori, move to the side before me. V'eshev etzlachan, I will be able to sit next to you. So too in our case, when it's talking about atam elitz, you're trying to protect al archan, your guest that you brought into your house. How do you have the guts? How do you have the nerve to be able to bring guests into your home? And Rashi continues to say, you see over here it says twice, Vayomer, and they said. Why does it say twice? Because there's 2 responses what they're giving to Lot. Lot said, number 1, that he was going to give them the daughters. And number 2, that he said, they came to stay by me. So first of all, they say, Al-Masha Amarlam, when he said Alabanis about the daughters, Amrali, they told him, Geshala, come over here, Loshin Nachas. Like, we're not interested in your daughters. And this that he said, I'll show you Melitz al Archim, the very fact that he was protecting his guest and saying they came to stay by me, This is when they got angry and they started saying, the one guy comes, this is a journey, he's a stranger. You came from a foreign place and you come to sit here Shabbos from another side of the river, Lager and slated to live by us. And you became over all of a sudden like a judge and you start rebuking us that you can have guests. You're telling us what to do and you're not listening to the customs of the place. Hadalas means the door. That is like the hinge, the place where the lock is, to be able to open up the door, which was there, to be able to unlock it, that they should be able to get in. So the angels that came, the men said, the people. So the men stretched out their hands. They brought Lot back into the home. And they locked the door. Pasuk 11, verse 11, and the people that were outside the home, at the entrance of the home, miraculously were struck with blindness. From young and old, and therefore they tried in vain to find the door. Verse number 11, Rashi, Pesach. There's the actual door, which is called Delas. Pesach huacholo, that's the opening. That you enter and go out from. Basanverim, what is Sanverim? Makasivarim, this is a plague of blindness, which doesn't allow them to see clearly what was going on. What is this telling us? The young guys were the ones that started the evil transgression, as it says, therefore, where did the punishment start with? The young ones as well. Now the angels start telling Lot to get ready to leave the city. And the people told Lot as follows, who else do you have here? Chasan, uvanecha, uvneisecha, a son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, whatever you have in the city, you got to take out of here. The simple interpretation of the verses, who else lives here that's related to you? Besides your wife and daughters that are at home, anybody else? They have a son-in-law, ibanim, sons, bunnies, daughters, you got to take them out. Ubanecha, what is your sons? B'nei b'nei secha. B'nei b'nei secha, the children of your daughters. Hanesuyes, that are married, that may be in the city, that don't live in your home. Umedrash agada, the Medrash gives another interpretation. Oid, meaning, me'achar she'oisen nevalakazais, being that the people of the city act so terribly. Milacha pischem peh. Do you even have an excuse to excuse such type of behavior? The whole night Lot was trying to find and defend the people to be able to remove the terrible decree and say they're not so bad, and trying to find some type of excuse. He says, look what these people want to do. Look inside. Tell me what else you have here. What else? The words milachapoi. What other excuses can you say for these individuals? Look what you have here. With this, Lot had two married daughters, and therefore he went to tell them what was going to happen. Why is he telling them? Why do you have to tell them to take out? Because we're destroying this place. Because the outcry before Hashem became very great. And God sent us to destroy it. Therefore, Lot then went. After they told Lot what they're planning to do, so Lot went to his married daughters to tell them. And he spoke to his sons-in-law, the people that married his daughters and his daughter's fiancés. And he said, Kumu, let's get out of this place. Because God is destroying the city. And it was like a joke in the eyes of his son-in-law. He had two daughters married two daughters that were married in the city. These two daughters that were living at home, these two daughters that were at home were engaged, had fiancés that were not living in the home, and therefore he went to tell them as well. Verse 15. Kemoya shachar olam, and as dawn was breaking, vayitzu hamalochim b'leit lemer, and the angels urged Lot, saying, Come, kach es ishtecha, take your wife, eshtei b'neisecha, and your two daughters, and the mitzvahs that are here, pentisafa b'avayna ir. Before you'll be obliterated in an account of the city's sinfulness. Rashi 15. What is the word vayoitzu? Like the Targum, which means utchiku. He pushed them. He said, "Let's go. We got to get miharu." He was hurrying them up. Hanimtsois, the ones that were there. Hamazumanis l'chabayis, those that are here in the home. La'atzilam, to save them. Umedrasha agada yesh. There's a lot of medrash here. However, v'zeh yeshuv yeshal mikra. This is the simple interpretation according to the verse. Tisafa, the word tisafa comes from the word destruction, to be destroyed. Tiyakala, they also might be killed. Toim koladur, the whole generation would be killed. Maturgam, as the Targum says, the saf koldara, they'll all be destroyed. Verse 16. Verse 16, Verse 16, Vayismamo, and she lingered. Vayachziku anoshim biyodei, and the men grabbed her by the hand. She was lingered. She wanted to take all her stuff. Ubiyadishte, and in the hand took his hand. Ubiyadishte, in the hand of his wife. Ubiyadshte b'nesav, in the hand of his daughters. B'chemlas Hashem olav, with the compassion that Hashem had on him. Vayitziu, he took him out. Vayinichu, and he placed them, and he led them michutz le'ir, outside the city. Vayismamo, why was he lingering? And interestingly enough, if you look at the trop, the cantillation that's on Vayismamo, the only very few times they have this cantillation, which is called the shalsheles, it's a zigzag going back and forth, and this is always used when there was hesitation. You find this here, you find it later, Vayimoin, for example, when Yosef was being seduced by the wife of Potiphar. Every time there's a little hesitation or questioning, you have this Vayismama, this long shalshelis, because there was a hesitation. What was the hesitation? He wanted his money. Vayachziku, what does it mean that he held them? One was there as a messenger to help them, to save them. The Vayeira, and the other messenger, to turn over Sodom. Therefore, he uses a singular terminology. It doesn't say, and they said, because only one of them was saving them. Verse 17. And it was while they were taking them out. And he said, Himalet, run for your life. Himalet al nafshecha, run for your life. Al tabit acharecha, do not look back. And do not stop in any of the plain. Hahara, Himalet, run towards the mountains, runs towards the hills. Pentisafe, Himalet, and be saved. Pentisafe, so you should not be obliterated with them. Rashi 17, Himalet al nafshecha, what does it mean on your soul? Was because Lot wanted to save all this money and all this stuff. So therefore the angel was telling him, it's enough that your life is being saved. Don't worry about getting money. Don't look back. Why? Because truthfully, you sinned and you were evil just like them, and you should be punished with them. Only reason you're being saved is b'schus Avram, only in the on merit of Avram Atinitzel you're being saved. Therefore, you don't have the right, you're not worthy enough. To see how they're being punished. And you're being saved. And therefore, do not look back, or you will be destroyed with them. What is the whole plain? This was the area of Kikar Yarden, the area of the Jordan, which Sodom was in its territory where Lot lived. Go towards the mountains, meaning to the mountain. Eitzel Avram, Brach, run towards Avram, Sheyeshev Bahar, that he's in the mountain. Shnemer, that we learned previously in the verse, Vayatik Mishamara, that he moved to the mountain. Va'af, Achshav, even in the time of Lot being saved, Haya, Yeshev Sham, Avram was still there. Shnemer, as it says, Adamakim, Asher Haya Sham, Ole Betchila, he went to the place where his tent was there to begin with. Even though that it says later on that Avram moved and he was an Elene Mamre, Avram had a lot of real estate. He had places all over the place. And it went all the way until Chevron. Himalet, what does it mean? To be saved. Loshin hashmata, the way you should be able to get out of it. That if you run out of the territory, you'll be able to be saved, and therefore you will not be consumed with the city. Anytime you see the word hamlata in the verse, it means ashmutzir in Old French, to be saved, shenishmat, the slipping out, shenishmat uber min arechem, for example, as the fetus comes out of the womb, Ketzipar nimlata, or as a bird slips, moves, and continues. Also, they weren't able to, the idolatry, were not able to carry the waste that was with them, and they therefore they had to get rid of it. All different terminologies in the verse where he uses the word himalit. Verse 18, Vayeira Lot aleihem, and Lot said to them, Al no Adonai, oh God, no. Verse 19. Hine no motza avdecha. Verse 18, Rashi. Al no. Rabbi Seinu Omri, Sheshem Zeh Kodesh, that this is God's name. Wasn't referring to the Malach. Sharei nemer boi lahachiyas es nafshi, because he says afterwards that I shall be saved. Lemisha yesh biyodi lahamis lahachiyas, so the one who has the power to give life and to take away life. Targum says, Bebo'un ka'an Hashem. He was asking as a request from God. Al no, al teimru, please. Elait limali tahara, please don't tell me to run to the mountain. No, lashem bakasha. The word no means please, don't force me to go to the mountain. Verse 19. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you were bound in kindness, that you did with me, to save my life. But I cannot go towards the mountains. I can't escape towards the mountains. Lest the evil cling to me, famati, and I will die. What does he mean by this? Rashi says as follows. Text number 9, verse 19. What does it mean that the evil will cling to me? And he explains. Lot was concerned. When I was by the people of Sodom, God saw the actions, my actions, and the actions of the people of the city. And I was considered a righteous person. And therefore I was worthy of being saved. But the problem is now that when I'm going to come to Avram, who's a righteous person, I then will look like a bad guy. So therefore, I don't want to go there. Until now, when I'm by the bad guys, I look like a good guy. But when I'm by the good guys, I'm going to look like a bad guy. We see a similar thing where the similar thing they said to Elijah, did you come to me to mention my sins? Until you came to me, and I was considered righteous amongst them. Now you're coming to me, I'm considered an evil person. That means when I'm amongst evil people, I'm great. But now that you come to me, Elijah, I look like a bad person. What does then the angel respond? Therefore, please, the Lot tells the angel, please, there is a town called Bela. It's very close by. Lana Shama, that I should be able to run there. Vihi mitzar, and I can escape there. Imolta Shama, it's smaller. It is less. Imolta Nashama, let me escape there. Hale mitzir here, it is smaller. Usachinafshi, and I can survive. Rashi, Ha'ir hazois kreva yeshivasa, meaning that people haven't settled there yet. It's new. It's a new settlement. Therefore, the anger of Hashem may not be against it that much. They haven't sinned that much. Umahi krevasa, what does it mean? How close? Midir haflag, it's only from the generation of the haflaga. That people split all over, and they were building new cities, and this was one of them. And each person was settling in their places. And this was in the city in the year that Peleg died. From that time until this stone was destroyed, Nun Beis Shana was about 52 years. Because Peleg died when Avram was 48 years old. And now, Avram, when stone was being turned over and destroyed, Avram was 99, comes out, was only 52 years old. Now Rashi continues. Kate, how is it possible that Peleg Chai Achri Elidus Ru Reish Tes Shana, that Peleg should live for 209 years after Ru'um, after he gave birth to Ru'um? Tzeimehem, if you're going to count the amount of times, Lamed Beis is 32 years, Kishanelid Srug, when Srug was born, Musrug Achanelid Nachar, and from Srug until Nachar was born, Lamed is another 30 years, so you have 30 plus 30 is 62, Arei Samach Beis. Umenachar Achanelid Terach, and from Nachar until Terach was born, Chav Tes Shanim is the Chav Tes is 29. Arei Tzadik Aleph, so you have 62 plus 29, you have 91. Umisham Achanelid Avram, and then from when Terach was born until Avram was born, is another 70 years. Ayin, Harekuf Samachalov, so you're left with now 161. So you have, that means from when Avram was born, was 161 years until Ru'u. Tein Lahem Mem Cheshanim, then add another 48 years of Avram's life. So you have now 209 years of Peleg after Ru'u was born. That year was the year when everything split up, was the year that they built the tower and everything happened. And when Sdom was destroyed, Avram ben Tzadik Tes Shana. Avram was 99 years old because that's when the angels came to him, and it was right after his circumcision. What do we see from here? What's Rashi's point? That means from the generation of the people that built the tower, and God split them all over the world, until now, until the destruction of Sodom was only 52 years. V'tzoyar achri yeshivasa. And Tzoyar delayed in people getting settled here. Achri yeshivastei v'chavrisar shanachas 1 year. V'shenemar molta na, let me run away there, please. Na is 51 years. What we're seeing from over here is that Sdom was only 51 years old, and how terrible the people became in 51 years. Haloi mitzarhi, haliv and has very few sins. Yachalat alanichan, therefore you can leave me there. Sechinaf shiba, and I'll be able to live there. Zeh madrasha, this is the medrash. The simple interpretation means it's just a very small city. Anashim bamat, very few people. You don't have to worry to leave it. You don't have to kill the people there. You can leave it, and I will be able to survive there as well. This concludes the third Torah reading of Parshas Vayeira.